Strong Opinion Sports is powered by FanDuel, the exclusive wagering partner of the CLNS Media Network. Oh my goodness. Good morning, good afternoon. Whatever it is for you, I hope you're having a fantastic day. My name is Zach Schaumler. This is Strong Opinion Sports, episode 584. Today is a fantasy football episode. I'm going to talk about my team in week 2, how I did. I had my first ever loss in fantasy football. I lost to my friend Jarvis's team, the Jordan Rules. I love that. His quarterback is Jordan Love, so fun name there. I lost by less than 6 points. Basically everybody on my roster this week had a bad week, and I still almost pulled it out. I got really close. In fact, coming into Monday Night Football, I was down 10 points. He had the Browns defense. I had Deshaun Watson, the Browns quarterback. All I needed was Deshaun Watson to have 10 more points than the Browns defense. Deshaun Watson was unable to do that. Of course, he had 3 turnovers, 1 touchdown. He looked like garbage all night, and just my luck, right? I mean, I thought that was a pretty easy ask. Hey, Deshaun Watson, just don't have a pick 6. Oh, that sucks. Oh, don't have a fumble that goes for a touchdown. Oh, thanks. Oh, how about don't have 2 fumbles? Thanks, Deshaun Watson. Which, hey, I know no one feels bad for me. Everyone loves to see Deshaun Watson struggle. I lost 99.8 to 105.14. My quarterback, Deshaun Watson, had 12.6 points on 235 yards passing, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, a 2-point conversion, 2 fumbles lost, and 22 yards rushing. All around bad day for Deshaun Watson. And, again, like I said, no one feels bad for me when Deshaun Watson struggles. My team is literally called the Cereal Predators, with a cereal box with Deshaun Watson's face for the O in Cheerios. Jordan Love, my opponent's quarterback, had 20.34 points. He threw 3 touchdown passes, 151 yards, plus another 23 yards rushing. I got dominated at the quarterback spot, that is for sure. At running back, I also got thoroughly dominated. Jahmyr Gibbs, my running back, had a mere 7 carries for 17 yards. Oh, not great. He did catch 7 passes for 39 yards. He got a total of 12.6 total points week 2. His running back, Kenneth Walker, is number 1 running back at 18.4 points, 17 carries, 43 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 11 yards receiving. So Kenneth Walker dominated Jahmyr Gibbs. I got beaten in that category for sure. Then Joshua Kelly happened. I was so excited. Austin Eckler, the Chargers quarterback, was out week 1. Joshua Kelly had a fantastic week. And I'm like, look, his numbers are going to be even better because the starting running back for the Chargers isn't going to play. I thought for sure Joshua Kelly being my starting running back, or one of my 2 starting running backs, was a fantastic move. And I kept him in my starting lineup. I still think next week it could be a good move. But unfortunately, he had 3.9 points. He had 13 carries for 39 yards. Wow. No touchdowns. Didn't have 100 yards. The Chargers actually lost 24-27. And Chargers fans, I feel your pain, man. I watched the Chargers in 2 weeks, have 58 points total on offense, no turnovers, and they're 0-2. I mean, the Chargers are horrible. But I thought, fantasy-wise, that was a great move. Austin Eckler's out. He's not playing this, last week in week 2. I'm like, oh, for sure, Joshua Kelly's going to get me a lot of points. He got me less than 4 points. Dang it. His backup running back, James Conner, actually went off. He had 23 carries for 106 yards and a touchdown. James Conner brought in 16.6 points for Jarvis, my opponent, and it kills me, man. Another guy that totally failed for me this week, Calvin Ridley. He had 2 catches for 32 yards. Woo! Great! Amazing! No, not at all. Calvin Ridley brought in 5.2 points. Again, sadness over here. The guy he was going up against, Gabriel Davis, my opponent's starting receiver, at 21.2 points. 6 catches, 92 yards, and a touchdown. And it hurts my soul more and more. Finally, a win. Zay Jones did not bring in any points. He had 0 catches on 6 targets. That's great for me. Odell Beckham Jr. Had 3 catches for 29 yards. Odell Beckham Jr., 2 weeks in a row, just didn't bring me in any points. I think I'm going to take him out of my starting lineup. I've been waiting and hoping. And unfortunately, Baltimore plays the Colts this week. This could be the game where Odell Beckham Jr. finally makes an impact, but I'm getting kind of tired of waiting. And I could have put Zach Moss as my flex player this week. Zach Moss had 20.7 points, and I left him on my bench, which is really stupid. And I think I'm going to have to just make Zach Moss one of my starting players until Jonathan Taylor comes back week 5, because he's going to miss the first 4 games of the year. So I got 2 more weeks with Zach Moss as a starting running back in Indy. This week, Zach Moss on my bench, not playing, at 20.7 points. He had 19 receiving yards, 88 yards rushing, 18 carries, and a touchdown. And sitting on my bench, man, that would have been the difference. That would have helped me win the game. Another thing that would have been really close to making the difference, my backup tight end, Dalton Kincaid, 5 catches, 43 yards, and he was sitting on the bench. It's pain. It's pain for me. So I did win 1 receiver matchup. Odell got 5.9 points. Zay Jones got him 0 points. Great, I guess. My tight end, George Kittle, had a bad day. George Kittle had 3 catches for 30 yards, which is sure fine, but that's only 6 points. And I'm kind of starting to accept that George Kittle may just not be a fantasy player that's going to really bring me any good points this year. I hesitate to bench him, but Dalton Kincaid, the rookie tight end in Buffalo, is starting to produce more points and more plays than George Kittle. I don't know what's going on. I thought George Kittle with Brock Purdy for sure was going to be like a home run, and he's just not getting a lot of targets. He's not getting a lot of yards. Doesn't have a touchdown yet this year. I don't know what's happening with George Kittle. I thought for sure that was going to be a great pickup in the draft, and turns out nothing's happening really. So I might have to bench George Kittle, and I'm kind of coming to terms with what my team is. Odell's kind of a bust. George Kittle probably isn't going to produce as many points as Dalton Kincaid. I said last week, the tight end position is one that appears to be just a position I totally overrated. Like tight ends, you only really need 1 on your roster. You want to have receivers and a lot of running backs, and the moves I'm making in the future with my roster are reflecting that for sure. His tight end, Travis Kelce, I actually got lucky here. Travis Kelce didn't go off. I played against Travis Kelce. Travis Kelce only had 12.6 points, 1 touchdown, sure, but 26 yards, 4 catches. As far as Travis Kelce goes, I got lucky because he could have gone for like 150 yards and 2 touchdowns. And fortunately for me, Travis Kelce's first game back, only 4 catches, 26 yards, and a touchdown. Another piece of good luck, right? The guy, my flex position, I started Nico Collins, who had 7 catches for 146 yards and a touchdown. Nico Collins brought in 27.6 points. Hallelujah. That's awesome. We love that. Even better news for me, he started Cam Akers as his flex. Cam Akers didn't even play in this football game at all week 2 against Minnesota. Against Philly, excuse me, on Thursday Night Football. He's now in Minnesota. For me, having Cam Akers not play at all, he had 2 players, Cam Akers and Zay Jones, that started for him, did not get him a single point. That's the only reason why my players were so bad this week, and still somehow I was able to make it like less than a 6-point game. I mean, I will say Nico Collins went off, had almost 30 points. That's great for me, but as far as Calvin Ridley didn't do much this week. Joshua Kelly, nothing this week. Jahmyr Gibbs, I'm still hoping can turn into a number 1 back in fantasy football. Like maybe this week he finally pops off against Atlanta. Hasn't really made a big play or done much so far early in his rookie year, where Bijan Robinson, the other rookie running back, is doing great and looks fantastic. Odell's a bust. George Kittle's kind of not working out. He's kind of a bust. Calvin Ridley, I think, had a bad week after a great week 1. He'll be back. Jacksonville got totally shut down by Kansas City. I can handle that. I can handle a player having a bad week. That's part of the game. Now, my kicker got me 2 more points, and his kicker, it's not that interesting. Brandon McManus, my kicker. The Jaguars kicker. The Jaguars got held to no touchdowns this week, which actually kind of worked in my favor. He had 3 field goals. It's fine. It works. I'll take the points. His kicker, Tyler Bass, the kicker for Buffalo, 1 field goal, 5 extra points. That gives him 8 points, whereas I got 10 points off 3 field goals. And then the Cowboys defense continues to perform. Now, I took a hit today. We found out Trevon Diggs probably tore his ACL. That's definitely going to hurt the Cowboys defense performance. But week 2, the Cowboys defense had 3 interceptions against Zach Wilson, a forced fumble, a fumble recovery, 3 sacks, only 10 points allowed. In total, The Cowboys defense brought in 16 points for me. That's great. And the Browns defense, my opponent's defense, only brought in 8 with an interception, 14 points allowed, 1 sack, 1 forced fumble, and a fumble recovery. I got let down big time by Deshaun Watson, and frankly Kenny Pickett. Like I said, after Sunday going into Monday Night Football, it was Deshaun Watson against Deshaun Watson's defense, and I'm like, okay, great. Deshaun Watson's got to put up like 15 points, and the Browns defense has to have kind of a bad night against Kenny Pickett, who I'm hoping Kenny Pickett can do something. Kenny Pickett was garbage, did nothing all night. That helped him. My opponent had better points there, and Deshaun Watson was also equally, actually, even more horrible than Kenny Pickett was. So, all in all, man, I just had a bad week. Like, that does seem to happen. I'm making change in the future that'll reflect that. Like, I'm taking Odell out of my starting lineup for sure. I'm not sure yet if I've got the balls to bench George Kittle, but Dalton Kincaid is starting to look like a really productive player. Buffalo plays Washington this week. Buffalo plays Washington. Actually, you know what? George Kittle plays in a couple minutes against the New York Giants. I'm going to leave George Kittle in my lineup for week 3 because I think against the Giants defense, he's going to do really well. I'm hoping. Can we pray that week 3 George Kittle does something awesome and plays really well? So I had, like I said, Zach Moss on my bench. If I'd started Zach Moss and made him my flex and put Nico Collins at wide receiver number 2 and just taken Odell out of the lineup, I would have won easily. So I made one mistake. That cost me. That's why I lost this week. Again, though, my opponent had a pretty bad day, too. Like, Cam Akers, no points. Zay Jones, 0 points. Like, I got lucky, frankly. It was as close as it was because my quarterback only gave me 12 points. My backup running back, 4 points. 2 of my receivers, 5 points each. Like, I had a really, really bad day all around week 2 in fantasy football. I also got, like I said, I complained about Zach Moss being on my bench. He left Josh Reynolds on his bench, and Josh Reynolds had 23.6 points for 66 yards and 2 touchdowns for Detroit with 5 total catches. So we both had some mishaps here and there. All in all, I walked away right now in the Fantasy Football League. I am now 4th in the standings, which I'll take. I'm 1-1. I am the number 1 one-loss team in the league. There's only 3 people undefeated. Let's go down through the standings. Ruggs Racing Crew is in first right now. They're 2-0. Bustin' on Cousins is in second. And by the way, these guys stepped up with their names. I'm so glad to see that. Jackson's Prison TikTok is third. All 3 of those teams are 2-0. So Ruggs Racing Crew, Bustin' on Cousins, and Jackson's Prison TikTok, all 3 of those guys are 2-0. I am 4th right now, the number 1 one-loss football team. By the way, I have the most points in the entire league with 235.56 points. My team right now has scored more points than any other team in our fantasy football league. I think we're doing okay. Slight adjustment here and there, benching OBJ, getting another running back in the lineup. I think we're good for the rest of the year. I feel pretty solid. I know a lot of people made fun of my team, but I think I got good players. I got to be smart with who I start and who I don't. But all in all, I think people don't realize, I know my team sounds weak when you just hear my team, but every other team in our league, no one has a great roster top to bottom. With so many people, 16 total people in the league, everybody's struggling. And so far, I've avoided major injuries. Like the guy who had Nick Chubb, that's a bummer, dude. The guy who had Cooper Kupp, that's a bummer. The guy who had Aaron Rodgers, that just sucks, man. So I think, or even the guy who had Garrett Wilson, whose quarterback Aaron Rodgers got hurt. I'm doing fairly okay. I feel not terrible. In 5th place in the league, we've got 24/7 Ask ETN Season. Love that team name. In 6th, we've got Bartalicious. Rhett Bart. I think it's Rhett Bartolini, which we've talked. He's wrote into the show. I love you, man. Hey, Rhett, you can pick a better name than Bartalicious. It's not horrible, but you can do better, I think. Heshmi's new team name, he's in 7th in the league, is Half-Mast Chubbs, which is the flag is down at half-mast for Nick Chubb, his number 1 player, Nick Chubb, who's now out for the year. That's a brutal loss. I feel bad for Heshmi. That's who I beat week 1. And, man, what's his team look like now, Heshmi? So he's got Brian Robinson, Chuba Hubbard, his other players, Jeff Wilson, Damian Harris. I mean, people make fun of my team. This guy's screwed. Now that Nick Chubb is gone, I'm feeling great compared to this guy. Although Heshmi did win this week, which is good for him. Sam Colburn's team name. Sam is 8th in the league. I absolutely love this team name. His name is Ayahuasca Won't Fix That, a reference to Aaron Rodgers' knee injury and Aaron Rodgers' love of the good drugs. Jakester's team name is still How'd That Get Up There? He's in 9th. Jake, you can do better than How'd That Get Up There? Unless you got a reason. If you could explain the team name to me, fine. But until you change your name and make it better, I'm going to give you crap every week. Andy's team name, and they're in 10th, is X going to give it to you. That's Austin Eckler. Right now, Eck ain't going to give it to you because he's out with an injury, an ankle injury. In 11th, we got DeBomb.com. And 12th, we've got the Jordan Rules, Jarvis's team. Just lost to him. Tip of the cap to Jarvis. In 13th, we've got Addison Vet Services. That's my friend Logan. Logan explained to me his team name. Addison's Vet Service is a reference to when Jordan Addison got pulled over for going like 150 miles an hour at 3 a.m., claiming he was dealing with an emergency with his dog, which very well may have been true. It also could be a great excuse to be speeding at 3 a.m. Either way, now that I know the team name reasoning, I find that hilarious. In 15th place, we're ahead of schedule. In 14th place, we've got Children of Analytics. I think you can do better, Carter. Just Another Florida Man is in 15th. And in 16th place, Phoenix Fife has decided to change his name to New York Sucks Giant Balls, which I actually love New York, but that's still a funny, great name. I love that. Some upgrades to the team name this week, guys. Again, Bustin' on Cousins. Ayahuasca Won't Fix That. Ruggs Racing Crew is hilariously messed up. New York Sucks Giant Balls. These are all funny to me. So right now, 2 weeks into the year, I'm 1-1, had my first ever loss, but I am right now only in 4th. And as far as one-loss teams, everyone's going to lose a game this year. I can survive this loss. I'll be okay. I think the best move I can make is just getting rid of OBJ. Get him out of my lineup. He's just not delivering. And watch, now that I say that, though, unfortunately, OBJ is probably going to go off this week and have a fantastic week. Now, let's go through. We've got a matchup this week. I want to preview my matchup in week 3. So I'm playing against Bustin' on Cousins. Right now, I've got a 51% chance of winning. It's pretty even, though. His quarterback is Kirk Cousins. He's got Christian McCaffrey, a good running back. His secondary running back is Najee Harris, which I feel pretty good. Najee Harris isn't going to do anything because the Steelers haven't been able to run the ball at all this year, and they're playing against the Raiders this week, which isn't a great defense, but still, I mean, I don't know what's going to change that Pittsburgh suddenly is going to run the ball for 150 yards in week 3. He's got Mike Evans at receiver. Don't love that, but they're playing against Philadelphia, so maybe that'll slow down Mike Evans a little bit. His tight end is Luke Musgrave, tight end in Green Bay. I feel like George Kittle's going to do way better than Luke Musgrave. He's got Terry McLaurin at receiver. Jamal Williams at... that's not Jamal Williams. What's that guy's name? Javonte Williams, the running back in Denver, is his flex player. He's got Kai Fairburn, the kicker in Houston, and he's got the Commanders defense going up against Josh Allen. Hey, I'll take that matchup. I've got the Dallas defense up against Arizona. I would imagine my defense is going to score a lot more points than the Commanders defense will against a great quarterback, Josh Allen. Although, we saw Josh Allen completely fall apart against the Jets defense week 1. And I would argue the Jets defense is similarly built to the way that the Commanders have built their defense, with a great defensive line and a couple players in their secondary that can make a lot of plays on the football. My kicker, Brandon McManus, the kicker in Jacksonville, is playing against Houston. I feel like I got a good likelihood of my kicker scoring a lot of points this week. Playing against Houston, a not very good football team. The Jaguars are coming off a game where they didn't have a touchdown, which actually wasn't terrible for me points-wise, but whether it's field goals or extra points, I think Brandon McManus, my kicker, is going to be kicking a lot this weekend against Houston. I put Zach Moss as my flex player this week. So in my lineup, I've got 3 running backs this week. Zach Moss is my starting flex player. He's a running back in Indy. He's playing against the Baltimore Ravens. I don't feel terrible about that. I think Zach Moss is a player who's going to run the ball a lot and get a lot of yards, especially with, I think Anthony Richardson isn't going to play this week, so that's going to work to my strength as well. Jahmyr Gibbs, the running back for Detroit. He's a rookie. I have to start him. I can't really negotiate anymore. Like I've got Kareem Hunt and Isaiah Pacheco as other running backs in my team, my roster, my team on my bench. But Jahmyr Gibbs, I would hate to bench him right before he finally pops off and has a big game. And I think pretty soon, whether it's this week, which it might be a week too early. Again, Atlanta's got a really good defense with a good defensive line and a good front seven. This may not be the week Jahmyr Gibbs finally pops off and has a big play and a long touchdown, but I think very soon we're going to see Jahmyr Gibbs start to show the speed and the separation he has and turn that from, ooh, he's got potential to, wow, Jahmyr Gibbs is scoring a lot every single week. Joshua Kelly's my other running back. I'm leaving him in the lineup. They're playing Minnesota this week, which I think the Chargers, they ran the ball great week one. They were terrible last week against Tennessee with Austin Eckler out. I thought for sure Austin Eckler being out was going to help Joshua Kelly run for more yards and give him more opportunities. It didn't last week, but I'm leaving Joshua Kelly in my lineup rather than benching him for like Isaiah Pacheco. And then Calvin Ridley and Nico Collins. Nico Collins plays the Jaguars, and Calvin Ridley plays Houston. They play each other. So two receivers, the number one receiver on Jacksonville and Houston. I think both of them could have a big day. I feel like that's a great... I'm feeling good about my receiving lineup right now. I mean, Nico Collins has been kind of the steal of the year so far. He's been generating a ton of points for my team that I think no one really expected him to generate. And then George Kittle, my tight end, plays the Giants today on Thursday Night Football. I'm praying to the gods of football. Can George Kittle please do more than get 4 points? Like, please? I would like George Kittle to not be a player I have to bench for Dalton Kincaid, the rookie tight end in Buffalo. But I love George Kittle. I don't know why he's not getting the ball very much from Brock Purdy when he was playing with Jimmy Garoppolo. George Kittle had a ton of yards, a ton of catches, a ton of points, and right now he's just not doing much. We're only 2 weeks in, but I've been very disappointed, more than any other player. Like OBJ has been bad, and I recognize I took a gamble on Odell for sure, but I thought for sure George Kittle was going to be a high productive player for me, and so far he hasn't. And if he doesn't against the Giants on Thursday Night Football, I don't know what to do. The Giants' defense is fine, and the Giants are not very good, so I can't imagine that if George Kittle doesn't produce this week, he's out of the lineup. I would just give up on him. Deshaun Watson plays Tennessee. I don't know. I don't feel great. I think Kirk Cousins is probably going to score more points than my quarterback this week. Kirk Cousins is playing against the Chargers defense, the Chargers defense is so bad. They just give up points on points on points. And I think that game, Minnesota versus LA, is going to be kind of a shootout where Deshaun Watson against Tennessee feels more like a boring game dominated by running backs, quite frankly. But I would love to, I'm praying that what the Browns do is adjust their offense and put Deshaun Watson in the shotgun, have 4 wide receivers. They stop putting him under center, handing off the ball a bazillion times. I would really like to see Deshaun Watson be given a different offense, quite frankly, and allowed to do more of what he did when he was in Houston in 2020, having a fantastic year. And guys, I'm leaving on my bench this week. I've got Kareem Hunt. I picked him up. He went to Cleveland. I think... I don't know. I'm not really sure what they're going to do with Kareem Hunt yet. He's not in my starting lineup, but we'll see what he does. He did used to play for the Browns. Now he's back in the wake of the Nick Chubb injury. That might be a sneaky good move. I picked him up. Just why not? Dalton Kincaid is on my bench. They're playing Washington. I don't know what to expect from him yet this week. Marquez Valdes-Scantling's a player that I would probably, if I had to drop anyone on my bench, he'd be the first player I would drop. Even though he plays with Patrick Mahomes, he's just not getting a lot of touchdowns, a lot of catches, and they're really spreading the ball so evenly throughout Kansas City that there's no one player getting the ball a ton. Even Travis Kelce, when he was back in the lineup, only 4 catches. So, I don't feel like I need to keep Marquez Valdes-Scantling if I get another option available in free agency because he's just not getting the ball any more than anyone else in Kansas City. Isaiah Pacheco, the running back, I'm holding on to him just because I think it's a starting running back in fantasy football. He's starting for Kansas City. They don't run the ball a lot, and he's one of 3 running backs they use, but still, I'm in no hurry to give up anyone who's a starting running back in the NFL in fantasy football. And then I'm keeping OBJ, just hoping that maybe something can spark. I think OBJ's got high potential, but I am quickly giving up on that move. I'm like, oh man, I'm frustrated and disappointed with Odell. Now on my opponent's bench, I don't want to give away strategy, but he's got Kadarius Toney and Jaden Reed both. I don't know. He's got his starting receiver is Mike Evans and Terry McLaurin, so I guess I wouldn't make a move there, but I'm surprised he's leaving Najee Harris in the starting lineup, although, hey, please do it. Hey, I am really glad. You want to leave? Noah, if you leave Najee Harris in your starting lineup, I'll take that all day. I'm happy to have that advantage given to me. So, guys, that was fast. How long was that? It didn't feel like it was very long. 25 minutes. I didn't mean to speed run through my week. It was a bad week of fantasy football. I don't have any gloating to do. Nothing exciting. No awards. It was just kind of like great, I guess. I don't know how to find who had the best week available. I'd love to find, come on, where is it? I'm using the app for this episode. So instead of writing notes, I've got like literally one sheet of notes that says, don't forget to talk about your quarterback, 2 receivers, 2 wide receiver, 2 running backs, tight end, flex, kicker, defense. I wanted to make sure I hit everything. We went through the standings. We went through the matchup. And I feel like I'm talking really fast. I've had a really stressful day. Got attacked by a cat. My friend's cat's going to the hospital. It's been a weird day here. But yeah, I lost. First ever loss in fantasy football. It was painful. It sucked. And I leave you with this, guys. We got to pay the bills. And I've now realized I did not once even leave an opportunity to pay the bills. So we're going to do an ad read right here. Snap into action this NFL season with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action. The app is easy to use. There's a wide range of betting options from spreads, player props, overs and unders, and more. So visit FanDuel.com/Boston. That's FanDuel.com/Boston. And kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. Hope is here. First online, real money wager only. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. GamblingHelplineMA.org or call 1-800-327-5050 for 24/7 support. Play it smart from the start. GameSenseMA.com or call 1-800-GAM-1234. Well, guys, thank you for listening. I love you. I appreciate you. I'm not sure how to make this more interesting or less interesting. I would love to hear feedback. What do you guys want from fantasy football episodes? I'm curious for you guys. I'm trying to have fun with it. This is also my second episode I'm recording today on a Thursday, right before Thursday Night Football. I think in the future, I'm going to start recording Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and do my weekend preview a Wednesday episode so it can come out by Thursday morning. Then do my fantasy football episode as the only thing I record on Thursday mornings. That'll be kind of a new switch for next week. I've also been very sick. I was really behind the ball this week in general. But let me know if there's something fantasy-wise I can add to this show to make it better or more interesting. I'd love to hear your feedback. But I'm not going to lie. Like, as a person new to fantasy football, I was really bummed when I lost. Like, finding out, I watching my quarterback, Deshaun Watson, frankly, pardon my French, shit the bed and play horrible, give up 2 touchdowns and lose because of his bad play. I can't. I went into Monday Night Football down 10 points. All I needed was my quarterback to score 10 more points than his own defense, and he couldn't do it. Like, man, it was so frustrating. Like, this is such an achievable comeback. I went down 87-97. I lost 99-105. I lost by 6 points. Like, all I needed was a good day for my quarterback, and I would have won. And instead, my quarterback played terrible. And I guess that's fantasy, right? Like, that's part of watching, and certainly what I've learned this process, right? Having a team. I want to win so badly. It's so interesting how, like, I really, really care about winning every week. And it makes me, when I watch games, way more invested. Like, oh, please, I'm rooting for different things I've never rooted for before. And it is really fun to, like, have kind of a little bit of a stick in the game, I guess. A stake in the game, whatever you want. It's fun to have a thing to, like, care about on top of the actual outcome of the game. And I'm loving fantasy football, man. I thought I didn't know if I would like it or not. I wasn't sure if it was going to vibe with me. I love the group aspect, having a bunch of people in a group chat sharing jokes all day, making fun with each other, and kind of we talk throughout the games. Like, are you seeing this too? Like, oh my gosh, can you believe the Giants are so bad? That kind of stuff. That's really fun. That experience, that camaraderie is really cool. And then I'm enjoying this process, man. Fantasy football has won me over, and I wasn't sure it would. It was a thing I made fun of a lot. And I want to be clear, a good fantasy football player does not necessarily make a good football player. They're not equal. And I still feel like fantasy football has oversimplified what it means to be a good player in the eyes of so many casual fans. And that does drive me nuts. Like, touchdowns aren't everything. Context matters. And how you throw an interception matters just as much as the number saying that you have an interception on your stat sheet. But certainly, big fan of this. It's fun. It's engaging. And I hate losing. I really, really am pissed I lost this week. I really thought I had a winnable scenario. And I got let down by Deshaun, man. I got let down by Deshaun. I got let down by the Chargers offense. I can't believe Calvin Ridley. And, I mean, like, let's go back through my numbers, man. It's so irritating. How did I do this week? Because I had so many players who, like, underperformed. And, I mean, certainly, I hope they underperformed, because if they do this every week, I'm going to lose every game. But this week in week 2, right, I had, it's frustrating. Yeah, Joshua Kelly, 3.9 points. Calvin Ridley, 5.2 points. Odell Beckham Jr. scored more points with 5.9 points than Calvin Ridley. George Kittle, 6 points. Nico Collins went off. He had 27.6 points. That's great, but my running backs weren't delivering. Nothing was going well for me. And my best player, other than Nico Collins, Zach Moss, I left on my bench. I mean, if I just started Zach Moss instead of OBJ, I just needed to give up on OBJ sooner, I think. I hate losing, man. It really, really irritates me. I really don't want to lose. And that's the joy of all this, man. So anyways, guys, I love you. Thanks for listening to my rambling. I'll see you tomorrow on Friday for a breakdown of Thursday Night Football, as well as so many Patreon questions. I love you. I appreciate you. Have a great day. And bam, we are done.